Real quick, before we start this podcast episode, I just want to say thank you for tuning into the Marc Colcer podcast. I know you've got a million things that you could be doing right now, and the fact that you're taking time out of your day to watch this podcast episode truly means the world to me, and I just want to say thank you for that. If you'd like to continue to support the podcast, right below this video, if you could hit the subscribe button, and then, hey, if you got some more time and you want to hit the download button, the comment button, the like button, the share button, any of those buttons, it's greatly, greatly appreciated. It helps for other people to find out about the podcast, and it helps for you to be notified about future episodes. So if you guys could take a quick second, hit the subscribe button, I would really appreciate that. Outside of that, this episode and every other episode is brought to you guys by Roast Umber Coffee. As some of you guys know, I co-founded Roast Umber Coffee, and we have the greatest farmers in Guatemala and Honduras and the greatest roaster in Grand Rapids, Michigan, all to bring you guys the greatest cup of coffee possible. So if you'd like to try it out, go to our website, use the coupon code MARC30, and you're going to get 30% off your coffee. Now on to the episode. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Welcome to the Marc Colcer podcast. All right, dude, you ready to rock this?
Let's rock. Let me know. Do you say like we're rolling or how's it work?
No, we just jump right into it.
Let's send it. Let's go in the deep end, sir.
Let's do it. Okay, so Jay, I've known you now for how long?
Shoot, 2 years, I'd say.
Yeah, I was gonna say we've been connected for a long time now.
Yeah.
So, all right. So for people who don't know who you are, give me like the 30-second intro. Who are you?
30 seconds. I've lived like a million lives.
No. I just want the 30-second elevator pitch. Not we'll jump into your life in a second, but give me the if somebody just asks you who are you and what do you do, explain that real quick.
All right. My name is Jay Croft. I'm based in San Diego, originally from Olympia, Washington, and I'm the founder of Mindful Monkz. We're a lifestyle brand, and we're trying to create ripples of positivity. And I love to surf. I love to skate. I'm a creative entrepreneur, photographer. Anything creative, vision, ideas, that's me. I love to travel. I just like living a life of color, man. And that's what I'm trying to do is just squeeze every last drop out of this thing we call life. So
there we go. Okay. So give me your like life background. So what were you doing before NFTs, crypto, anything like that even comes into your life? What were you doing with your life? What were you planning on doing? Because you've been doing photography for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So walk me through kind of like creatively, what have you been doing? When did you graduate college? Give me the whole background.
Sure. You want me to go all the way back? Because I think it ties in.
Yeah. Go for it. Whatever you think is relevant. Yeah.
So I come from a really small town. It's called Tumwater, Washington. It's next to Olympia, which is, the state capital. But where I'm from specifically, I don't even know the population, maybe 30,000. And it's the typical like Friday night lights, everybody cares about sports, football, everybody knows everybody, right? And I grew up in this predominant sports family. My grandpa was the high school coach, so he coached me and all my cousins, and he's got the record for the most wins in Washington State. So he's kind of a legend. Then you got my mom, who was the volleyball coach. She's won, 2 state championships, very well known as well. My grandma worked in the office. She was our assistant. My cousins are, one of them's in the NFL. One of them plays at UW. My dad played basketball at San Diego State. Sister Gonzaga. It goes on, right? And so as a kid, this was not pressure from my family, but it was all internal. I thought I had to be this perfect golden boy kid, right? Straight A's, never, did anything. I never partied, none of that stuff because I was walking on eggshells, right? If I got in trouble, the whole town knows. It's on the news, straight up. And so I grew up with this preconceived notion that I had to be this like perfect kid. So I played quarterback, point guard, pitcher, the whole 9 yards, right? Fell in love with football, loved it. But this whole time I had this other side of me. I kind of felt like the black sheep in my family because all of them were teachers, administrators, they were in that field. But the whole time, because the thing was, we didn't grow up with a lot of money. You might think if you look at my family, a lot of people thought that was bullshit. They're like, what do you mean? Your grandpa's, Sid Otten. What do you mean you don't have any money? My mom, she was a teacher. So she's, she had me when she was 21. $30,000 a year, raising 2 kids. My parents got divorced my 8th grade summer going into freshman year. Terrible for a kid to go through something like that, but it's for the best. But anyways, we didn't have a lot of money, so I remember it was during this time, I was in either 7th or 8th grade. I Googled how to make money online because I saw that. I was like, dude, my mom's struggling. Finance is like the biggest reason they got divorced, I think. And I just Googled that. I was 13. I was in my room. And I stumbled upon this internet marketing forum called Black Hat World. I'm sure some people watching will be familiar with that. It's like the OG, it's like where people share their threads for online business. And I stumble upon this thread where it's like, hey, I'm selling Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts. They're meme accounts. You just buy them, build them up, post stupid content, and then you sell them. And I said, what? This is insane. I'm 13 in my bedroom. I go to this guy's thread. His name was Casper. We're still friends to this day. He lives in San Diego. We work together sometimes. And I hit him up. I'm 13. He's in high school. And I'm like, dude, what is this? And so I get into this whole new world, and I start flipping social media accounts from my bedroom in 8th grade. And I'm making money. I'm like, I'm going out and buying Gatorades, and like, I'm paying my mom's garbage bill and like all this crazy stuff. Didn't tell a soul. Like 2 of my friends knew, but I was still this kid who was just playing sports, and I kept this life private. I would literally come from practice, go to my room, go online, and just like make money. And that kind of started this obsession with like, a lifestyle outside of the norm. I didn't want to have a 9-to-5. I didn't want a boss. I didn't want money to be the root of all my problems in life. And not to say you can't be happy without money, but that's how I thought as a little kid, right? And, I'm doing that. And the whole time I'm like doing all these different methods. I actually became the middleman for this. So I had a list of sellers and a list of buyers, and I created this platform where you could upload your social media accounts. So say you have, dank memes on Instagram. You upload that, you put an asking price, and then I took a cut. And I did that in high school, made a lot of money, and then it just became scammy. Like I lost $3,000 on PayPal one time from a scammer, and it was bad. Got out of that business, and then I noticed all the people in that circle were starting to e-commerce, right? And this is crazy, dude. That same circle, Lil Nas X, Rich Brian, all these kids were meme account owners back in the day, like when we were in high school. And I was like, what do you mean? What's Shopify? Like, what do you mean you're selling products online? That got into this crazy, other story where I founded this brand called Beach Bum Outfitters. And the idea for it was I had some like travel pages that I was running. And so the idea for this brand was it was floating sunglasses. So you drop the sunglasses in the water and they float, right? I go on Alibaba. I hit up a China, manufacturer, and I'm like, hey, can you guys make sunglasses frames? They're like, yeah, we'll give it a shot. So they're like, all right, we have the frame ready. And I'm like, can you send me a video of them floating in a sink? That's all I need to see. Send me the video. I'm like, holy shit, they float. Because it wasn't a thing. It was the first product. There's tons of brands now that have floating sunglasses. First thing, at least, my knowledge. I go, all right, let me order 100 pieces. They send 100 pieces. I get on Instagram. This is back in the day where you can follow 5,000 accounts in a day. There's no bans. So they send me the 100 pieces. I follow 5,000 accounts from the Instagram, sell out in 2 days. I'm like, whoa. And at this point, I'm going into my freshman year of college. So I'm getting recruited to play football. I have walk-on offers from Yale, UPenn, some other places, but I ended up going D2. Central Washington was the only, college that gave me a scholarship. So I started this business that summer. So I'm training to go play college football. I have this business that's taking off. I didn't expect to take off. I show up for camp, and I'm literally packaging orders from my dorm, dude. I'm not doing drop shipping. I'm packaging these orders. And fast forward to sophomore year of football season. I came to a crossroads because the business was thriving. I couldn't run it by myself anymore. So I needed employees. I needed to turn it into a real business, or I needed to continue my football career. So, sleepless nights, I decided to continue playing football. I sell the business. So back in the day, Shopify had this forum where you could post your brand for sale. They sent it out in their newsletter. They highlight 3. So I got, swear to God, I got probably 1,000 emails of people trying to buy my brand. Eventually, this will lead into the mental health journey and all that. I'll stop at a good point. But so I post this business for sale. I get thousands of emails. And finally, this offer sounds too good to be true. I get on a bunch of phone calls. And I won't say the name, but a company bought out 60% of the business. They supplied all of the apparel for every Greek system across the entire nation, right? Frats, sororities. They said, you're going to be a 40% silent partner. You're 18 years old, and you don't have to do anything else. We're going to take this over. We're going to get you in every single frat, every single sorority, and every college in America. I call my mom. I'm like, Mom, I made it. I think they gave me $18,000 up front and then 40%. I'm calling my mom, I made it. I'm 40% owner. I'm going to be getting royalties for life. Finally, right?
And this is where you got fucked over, right?
This is where I got fucked
I was
over.
gonna say, man, it's already setting up for that. Okay, keep going.
This is the first big lesson in my life because at this time, I think I'm the shit. You know, you're 18 years old. Nobody can tell you shit. You're playing college football. You're making money. I thought I was, untouchable, right? What happens is they rebrand the whole thing. They make a new logo, a new website, promise all this stuff, right? And then, a couple months go by, no sales. I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, why aren't you guys pushing this yet? They're like, oh, we got you in our retail store. There's like a little section of Beach Bum in our retail store. I'm like, that's cool. But I thought we're going to, go nationwide. Why don't we have an e-commerce set up yet? Why is there no Facebook ads running? And ghost silence. A couple more months go by. And by this time, I thought I made it. So that 18 grand, gone. I bought a Mercedes.
Oh, God. Oh, no.
I'm 18, bro.
Yeah,
this is my first lesson. So I buy a Mercedes. And this is why, after this mint revenue, I haven't touched it really.
Yeah.
Anyways,
You learned your lesson. Yeah.
I buy this Mercedes. My girlfriend at the time, I buy freaking tickets to Greece. This is another story. Never happened. Didn't get a refund. I'll get into that.
Oh, God. Okay.
So I buy Mercedes, tickets to Greece. I'm traveling. I'm going out, eating pasta and shit, right? And thinking that all this money is going to come in because I'm talking to one of the biggest companies in the Pacific Northwest, and they're telling me all these things. So like 4 months go by, nothing happens. $0. I get on a call and I'm like, dude, what's going on? They're like, we're sunsetting the brand. Like, we're just going to let it kind of fizzle out. Basically, that's what they said. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, we had all these, it's not in writing, but they're like, we're going to push this. This is going to be the biggest sunglasses brand in the world. And I'm like, I was stoked. And then, so I get on the call and they're like, yeah, we just have too much going on. Like, our main business is starting to pick up. We're just going to sunset this. You can buy it back if you want. This time I had no money. So I'm like, I'm screwed. And so this is where my mental health battle starts. Because, you grow up around football and you hear about mental health. But once you go through it, you start to respect it. And you say, okay, this is real. It actually is a thing. And so I lose my business. At this time, my football career is going south. I got no shot. Basically, it's a long story, but the coach that recruited me left 2 months before I got there. It's a whole new coaching staff. Never got to see the field, right? So this is in my second season now. And business is gone. Football's going terribly. So I quit football. It's taking all my time. 5 a.m. workouts. It's a job, right? So I quit football. At this point, everything I know is gone. My identity is rooted in. Football's gone. My business is gone. Maybe, I don't know the time frame because this is I was going through some crazy shit. My girlfriend of 4 years from high school breaks up with me. We went to college together. Just high school sweetheart breaks up with me, right? So at this point, girlfriend's gone, football's gone, business is gone. I'm freaking out. I'm like, who am I? What the fuck am I doing here? How am I going to, figure out what to do with my life? This is the time where I discovered, it's really cheesy now that I look back at it, but it's called The Secret. Like Oprah, sponsors it, Bob Proctor. It's basically like law of attraction, meditation stuff. And I remember I was at my friend Zach's house, who's now the director of Colcer for Monkz. I'm at his house. Dude, there's some things in life that you just remember perfectly. I remember I'm sitting on a couch like this, and I see The Secret on the table, and I'm like, dude, what's that? And his mom comes in. She's like, oh, it's like the law of attraction, like meditation stuff. I'm like, what? Like hippie bullshit? And she's like, no, it's actually really good. So we play it. It's like 2 hours long. The whole time I'm just like fascinated. I'm like, what? Like this whole new world opened to me, up to me. And me and Zach were just gung ho. I remember going on YouTube, and I looked up like, what is meditation? What is manifestation? And then this started this journey. And it was all I had at the time because I was depressed. Like I went through a hypomanic episode. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's like, it can happen to anyone, even if you don't have bipolar or whatever. It's basically where you don't sleep, you don't eat, it's crazy. You go into the spiral. So I go through that, and then that's followed by depression, right? And that's when I discovered The Secret, meditation, law of attraction, gratitude, all this stuff. So I start gratitude journaling. I start meditating, guided meditations, basic stuff. And I just felt better. I felt better. And I was like coming out of that depression. And all my college buddies, I was still close to all the football players. They're like, dude, you're meditating? Like, that's some hippie shit. Like, what? And I was like, bro, it's working. Like, I don't care what you say. It's working. And I just kept doing it. And at this point, that's where I discovered that this stuff is actually life-changing. I want to share this with the world. And at this point, I moved to I moved to Vancouver because I tried to play football again. After I get out of my depression, I'm like, all right, I don't have business. I've tried a few things. I tried a little side hustles, but I was like, I want to try to play football one more time. Transfer to University of British Columbia up in Canada. The week before I get there, I hear that this 6'5", 230 kid from Penn State is transferring in. I'm like, perfect. Show up there, back up again right away. Ride the bench. I think I played 7 snaps my whole 3 years of college football. So I leave UBC mid-season, straight up. I was like, this is a waste of my time. I'm paying out-of-country tuition. So it's like $70K, something crazy, $70K a year, right? And so I leave. I say, all right, what am I going to do next? I get this opportunity to go to Hawaii. And I got put up in this shack where this family friend paid for my rent. And it was this photography company where we were to go and, do tourism photography, stuff like that. She sends me out there, pays for a shack on the beach. I'm 100 feet from Lanikai Beach. It was amazing, bro. So I'm there for 6 to 8 months. We're living rent-free. I have no money in my bank. I have a surf van that I bought for $300 on Craigslist. And I'm eating fucking mangoes off a tree. Literally. I swear to God, dude. I'm 19.
No, this is hippie life.
20.
This is
Yes.
hippie life, yeah.
Yes. So I'm meditating. I'm eating mangoes off the tree. I'm doing like 1 photography shoot a week. There was one point, bro, because I was with my friend Ty at the time. We were both there. He was also a photographer. There was one point, probably 5 months into Hawaii, we had no gigs. Bro, we were so broke. We go on Craigslist and look up like labor. Straight up, just I typed labor. And a week later, we're like taking out floors like for like 8 hours a day or something, and just like doing random odd jobs just to eat that week. Straight up, dude. And that's how it was. And so I go through that, 6 to 8 months go by. I'm like, all right, I have no money. I'm almost done with school. I was still doing online school in Hawaii. So I fly home, finish school, and then, or finish that year of school. And then I was like, okay, I did this year at UBC. I still have credits at Central. I'm going to go back to Central and just be a student, right, for my senior year. So I drive to Central, and it's weird because I go through this, I went through this public hypomanic episode. All my friends know it. I show up to Central. I'm back on campus, no longer a football player. And I just kind of lived that like narc life, It was so fun, dude. It was so fun. So I get there. I meet Kate, who's my fiance now. It's a great year. I had so much fun. And then we go to Bali, eventually ended up moving to San Diego. And then that's when all this Mindful Society, Mindful Monkz starts. Is once I get to San Diego. I mean, there's a couple years in between, but that's basically like my backstory and how I got here. I've just been an internet kid, entrepreneur, football kid, but a lot of ups and downs. A lot of money, no money, a lot of football success, no football success. So it's just been this roller coaster, but that's life, man. And it's been crazy, but that's kind of, that gets up to the point of where Mindful Society starts to
So
originate.
walk me through, what were you doing? So from when you graduated college to now.
So I moved to San Diego. I get a job at Blenders Eyewear. I'm their social media coordinator. I do that for 9 months. And I never wanted a 9 to 5. It was, it was a means to an end. It was a great job. I loved it. I love those guys. 9 months at Blenders. After that, I started let me go back. So then I get all these random jobs. I'm doing like Snapchat ads online, doing social media management for entrepreneurs, all this random stuff. And then Kate and I come together and we start a content agency because she was also a social media manager at a place called Fresh Clean Teas. So we come together, we started an agency called Jay and Kate Create. And basically what we did was UGC video, Facebook ads, Instagram content. Basically we just, it was a content agency, and we ran that. It paid our bills, didn't go crazy, right? It was enough to live in San Diego. And so after that, I started a brand called Mindful Society. This is when COVID hits, right? It's peak pandemic. We're all locked in our apartments. And me and my friend Ty, the same guy in Hawaii, we start this brand called Mindful Society. And we do a crowdfunding raise on Kickstarter. We raised $10K. And the idea for this brand was to demystify mindfulness, to destigmatize what it means to take care of your mind, right? Because it's important. It's like anything. It's like a car. If your radiator breaks, you got to fix that shit. It's the same with life. If your brain isn't on point, that's probably the most important thing, right? And so that was the idea. And all the designs, are positive. They say grateful or all we have is now, stuff like that. So we started that brand, raised 10K. We do our, first drop. In hindsight, it was bad because we did, T-shirts, hoodies, beanies, all these things. Goes well. We ship orders to all 50 states, and it's good. It's not a huge business, but it's good. It's our little passion baby. Then I discover NFTs, probably 7 months in. and I go, holy fuck, this is a perfect storm. Everything I've learned, everything I've gone through, like I was a crypto kid back in 2017. This is perfect. So I start selling my photos as NFTs. I sell out 2 collections. One was called California Palms. Other was called Bali Bliss. They sell out in 30 minutes, both of them. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, how is this real? You know, I made 10K in a day. I'm connecting with all these crazy people in this space on Twitter. And that's when the idea hit me. I'm like, well, why don't I extend Mindful Society, the clothing brand, into a Web3 community and brand itself? And so I took those same exact values and ethos and turned that into Mindful Monkz. And so, you know, you see the traits on Mindful Monkz. It's the same designs that we came up with peak pandemic. So that was the idea. I just fell in love with Web3. And then I said, all right, we're going to put the clothing brand on the back burner. I'm going to fucking grind for, I don't know how long this is going to take because I didn't have a lot of money. And that's where it started. I just started grinding on Mindful Monkz all by myself. And yeah, I just, every day I would just go in my fucking office and just hammer out stuff. And that's kind of that's how it started.
There we go.
Yeah.
So walk me through, how long has it been since you came up with the idea for Mindful Monkz to like where we're at right now?
It's been over 2 years, man.
So what took, I guess, like what have you been doing over those 2 years?
Yeah, so the art took a long time. So our artist is Indonesian based. He doesn't speak English. Literally, we're Google translating on Discord. So I come up with 180 traits. I write them out, every single trait myself, reference examples, you know, the whole 9 yards. We're going back and forth for probably 6 months on the art. The art's done finally. And then it was about art curation because he didn't curate the art. He just sent me the layers. So I had to figure out how to, you know, how does this trait complement with the other one? This color doesn't go with this color. I made probably 100 rules myself so that these traits complement, right? And so after that, yeah, so this is like, yeah, it took 6 to 8 months, just the art. The other part was I was ready. I was just sitting on it because it was a bear market. So like every day I'd be like, maybe this is the week. 2 months go by. Maybe this is the week. Another month goes by. And then finally I was like, you know what? It's a bear market. Fuck it. Like, it's going to be hard. I'm not going to sell out like all these projects did in 2 hours, but let's just try it. And like, that's why it took so long, is because I was waiting for the right moment. And like, I was talking to advisors and they were like, don't launch right now, wait a year. So that was the majority of it. It wasn't like I was working every day on it. It was like, I had it ready and I was just waiting pretty much.
Okay. So what is the goal? Like, give me the, like, I guess when you came up with the original idea to begin with, what was your reason as to like, why does the NFT space need Mindful Monkz?
Yeah. So there was a point in NFT Twitter where I would sign in and I would just feel worse. I would scroll for an hour and I'd feel worse. Like it was dramatic. It was toxic. My feed just became a cesspool. Like I just didn't feel good. And so I was like, you know what? There's never been a community where I wake up and I'm excited to like talk to my friends, like sign in on Discord and talk to my friends. That just didn't happen for me. I'm sure there's so many projects that, you know, people that happens for them, but it didn't happen to me. So I said, all right, I'm going to build it myself. And the idea for Mindful Monkz is to spread ripples of positivity. Like when you see someone rocking a Monkz PFP, that person's a net positive for the space. They are, you know, they have good vibes. Like when you scroll a PFP of somebody who rocks a Mindful Monkz, they're just a positive person in the space. That's my goal, at least. And that was the intention behind it, is to create something that, like, we're not running spaces talking about drama. We're running spaces talking about gratitude. Like, that was kind of the idea, is like, I want to create a community that feels positive and is doing great things in the world, and then sharing that with others. And it kind of creates this ripple effect and this virality of goodness, essentially.
So, okay. So then walk me through, when did you guys start minting?
So we started minting in June of this year.
Okay, and is it a 10,000 collection, or what's the supply?
5,000. It's 5,777. I went with the angel number at the end.
There we go. And then what was your mint price?
So our mint price, it fluctuated based on ETH, but it was between about $12 to $15.
Okay. So walk me through, like, how long did it actually take to mint out?
Yeah, I don't know the exact day. I think it was about 40 days.
Holy
38
shit.
days.
There we go.
Something like that. I might be off by a week or so, but crazy thing is, so the first 50% of the collection was minted out over the course of 20 something days, right? Second 50% of the collection, 3 days.
Oh, there we go.
So we would run spaces for like 6 hours, like till like 3 a.m. And there was this one space we got on. There's like 10 people in there at the start, and these mints start coming through. I'm like, what the fuck's going on? Space has 50 people now. Then the space has 80 people, and it's like 1 a.m. at this point. We've been on for 3 hours. The space goes viral. Everyone's like, I can barely keep my eyes open. Everyone's like, you have to stay up, dude. We're trending. It's like 3 a.m. We are 95% minted out. It happened all in basically that Twitter space. And I remember I'm like, all right, I'm going to sleep for like 2 hours because we were going on a road trip to Washington. We were driving from San Diego to Olympia the next day. So I'm like, I need 2 hours of sleep, bro. I have to drive 20 hours tomorrow. So I sleep, I get up, and we're at 5,680 minted when I wake up. I'm like freaking out. I'm like, Kate, wake up. We're about to mint out. I rush to my office, go and refresh OpenSea. It says 5,777 items. And I go, we did it. We fucking minted out. I pack my bags, like call my boys, and I take off. And I'm on the road. I'm on the space. I'm getting on calls. And it was just the craziest feeling, bro. I'm off 2 hours of sleep. We mint out. I think literally before that day, we were at maybe 70% minted out.
There we go.
So it was just the craziest 24 hours ever.
What do you think it was? Because I remember when I saw you start to mint. Because, I've been in a group chat with you and a few other like LA and San Diego based people. And I mean, to be honest, there's people all over the world in that group. But like, I remember when you started minting. I remember even when you just started talking about the project in general. And I remember just thinking to myself, like, boy, it's a brutal time to mint. Like it is really hard to mint right now. It's hard to get, like, the space is super toxic right now. Like I love the messaging behind the project, but like, damn, right now is a really hard time to mint.
You and everyone else said this. Function too. He's like, dude, good luck. But he loved it. He's like, this is great, but good luck, dude.
Yeah, it's the reason why I say that is because there's not a lot of, like, when everything is pumping, or at least when there's like a few projects that are pumping, it's easy for people to go, hey, I'm going to take a gamble and buy 10 of these NFTs or 20 of these NFTs and whatever. And so you can see a project's floor pump very quickly. Right now in the space that we're in the middle of a bear market. Like that's not that common for that to happen, right?
Yep.
And so I was like, man, like I wish Jay all the success in the world, but even me, I was like, I don't know what he does.
Can I tell you something real quick?
Yeah.
Even I had those days. I mean, every day was either filled with doubt or conviction because I was by myself. So I was like, some days I was like, bro, who knows? I don't know. This might fail. You know? So.
And I remember just thinking to myself, like, I hope this mints out for him because I know how much he cares about this and everything like that. I'm like, there we go. Got you. But I was like, I hope this mints out because I know how much he cares about this, and I know he's a good dude. Like, there's a lot of people that come into the space and they're looking to just like take from the space, and I was like, I know that's not Jay. I want this to do well, but I'm also like, the realist in me is like, holy shit, it's such a bad time to mint. And like on top of that, minting an ETH is, in my opinion, not as easy as minting on Solana. And I was just like, God, this is just difficult. And I was like, I'm wishing him all the luck in the world. Let's see if it plays out, right? And then I remember like when you started talking about that Twitter space and it was like all these like mints starting to roll in, I was like, this is crazy. Like, what do you think it was about that space that made people decide to go mint then and there?
I don't know if it was that space exactly, like, specifically. I think what happened in that space is like we just did it for so long that it was just like, because when you scroll Twitter spaces and you can see we were just there for like 6 hours. So I think that's what happened is like some people would trickle in and then they'd retweet the space. It just kind of organically happened that way. But I think the bigger thing was that we just stayed really consistent. I mean, I was Frank Storm tweeting, literally. I was tweeting probably 30, 40 times a day during that time. And just like, whatever came to my head, I was just trying to stay consistent as possible because I knew the minute that I became like that momentum was gone, it would be really hard to kind of get back and like build momentum again. And to be honest, that's kind of one thing I've struggled with my whole entrepreneurial journey is like when I get some momentum, it's like hard for me to keep it going. But with this, I was like, this is different. I need to double down. So instead of like retreating and being like, oh, we're 50% minted out, I can go like surf now. I just stayed in the office for a month straight and just tweets, spaces, DMing. I DM'd probably 200 people. Like literally, I would just DM them, not like a thirsty DM, but I'd just be like, hey man, this is my project. This is what we're about. We're minting right now for $12. Like, I'd love your feedback, basically, is what I'd send. And that's what it took. I just, I think it came down to conviction, consistency, and just showing up. And I think people recognize that. And they're like, oh, if he can show up every day for a mint, in this time of market, then I think that this will be successful, down the line. And I think that's kind of what happened is they like, the people who bought in early, they noticed that I was passionate about what we were doing.
And so what keeps you motivated right now? Because obviously when you're in that grind of like, hey, I'm pushing for mint, it's one of those things. Because I remember like in the bull market, when people would talk about minting out, I was like, I remember kind of getting to the point of being like, okay, is that really an accomplishment, right? Like, especially in a bull market, like not really. No, it's like, it's kind of, you can do anything in a bull market and people will buy it, right?
Yeah.
You get into the bear market and it's like, okay, hey, minting out is actually an accomplishment because it's really difficult to do. And so, but then once you've done that, it's like,
it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, then it's kind of like, okay, we don't really give a shit. You've minted out. Now you've got a community of people who are looking for this project to do well, right? So like, what keeps you motivated during a time like this? Because there's obviously like the, royalty situation has gone down, right?
Yep.
So it's like royalties aren't bringing in a ton of money for any project. And so for your end of things, like what keeps you motivated to work on Mindful Monkz now that the mint is already complete?
For sure. I mean, there's a lot of things, and I'm glad you said that because I do agree that it is an accomplishment, but like, how every project has some sort of slogan or like motivational saying? What we kind of came up with and kind of what we're going to rock with for the next 10 years is like, we've done some shit, but we still ain't done shit. And that's kind of like how I see things is like, no matter how, even if Monkz goes to 1 ETH, like, yeah, we've done some shit, but we still ain't done shit. Right. And so that's kind of how I think about it. And the thing that's motivating me every day is like, it's a cliche answer, but it's the community, dude. Like literally, like I want to bring as much value possible to these early supporters, to the people who bought in yesterday. Like that's what consumes me all day. Like, it's kind of crazy. Like my girl is like, Kate, she's like, dude, you need to like go, play basketball or something. Cause it literally, I'm so obsessed with it that it's all I think about. And so that's kind of what's driving me is like, how do I create a brand that exceeds this Web3 echo chamber and drives value to our holders, our community through all sorts of different mediums? Like omnipresence is a big word that comes to mind when I think of that, is like, how can I be so present online that it's inevitable that the people who hold a Mindful Monk are getting value. And that's what drives me.
There we go. Yeah, and I mean, like, one of the things that I thought was cool, I mean, like, I've always loved the mindset. I think part of it that I think sometimes when people hear projects like this, they kind of go, okay, like, the whole hippie mindset kind of, like, can get, it can get cliche, right?
Yep.
And so, obviously, like, me being in LA, there's a lot of that kind of shit. And, and I'm one of those people that's like, hey, action items, like what are you actually doing?
Straight
right
up.
And because it's like there's a lot of like we're gonna better the world, but I'm like, how are you doing that? Right.
Yep.
Like, what is your actual answer to that? And one of the things that when we talked about this podcast episode, one of the ideas that we came up with was like, hey, let's actually go and do something to truly better the world, right? Let's go do a beach cleanup. Let's get a group of people together where, whatever we had, it was like 10 plus people, right? Not some gigantic group, but it was an effective group, right? And we went around Venice and we cleaned up trash, right?
3 hours ago.
Yeah. And
Literally.
there was a lot of trash to clean up. And it, and it felt good to make, somewhat of a difference, right? You're rocking one of the shirts.
Here it is.
I'll hold one up so people can see that too.
Dude, shout out to Sunny Mons. I mean, these things are like so high quality. Everyone was super stoked. I mean, I had like 3 or 4 people, just strangers, come up to me and be like, what are you guys doing? What are you a part of? Those shirts are sick. And I'm like, this is amazing. Like today, honestly, I'm not going to lie. I don't want to sound cheesy. This has been like one of the best days of my life. Like genuinely.
Well, good, man.
It's like full circle. Like straight up.
It's fun to do. It's fun to do stuff that like, I think with the NFT space, sometimes it's like, for the people on the outside, a lot of it can come across as like super cringe, right? And I get it. Like a lot of it is super cringe. And so to me, I'm like, man, if you can actually do something, like when people talk shit about NFTs, the reason why they talk shit is because we've given people plenty of reasons to talk shit about NFTs.
Have we?
Yeah, we've rugged most projects. We've had people, scam artists up the ass. Like we've had, institutional people like, FTX that have screwed over people. We've had Celsius. We've had, so many different things. Luna, we've had so many different things. 3 Arrows, my God, the amount of things we've had. And so it's like, people on the outside from the crypto and NFT space, people on the outside of all of that look at us and they're like, you guys are a bunch of idiots. Like, what are you doing? Right. Yep. And so to me, it's like, man, if you can do something where you actively like are doing something where anybody can recognize, hey, that's dope. You're actually doing something to better the world. Like today, I'm like, we all kind of split off into different areas. We're all cleaning up different parts of the beach. I had somebody walk up to me. They're like, are you doing like this as a job or like voluntarily? And I was like, oh, voluntarily. And they're like, oh, that's awesome. Like, love to see that.
Exactly.
And it's like those sort of things where anybody who sees that, anybody who's seeing our shirts, we're not trying to sell a bunch of NFTs to them. We're not trying to do anything like that. All we're trying to do is clean up the beach. And that's a beautiful thing. And like those are the things where it makes somebody like what brought us together are the NFTs. And then what we decided to do was go and do something that like betters the world, right? And so it's like that mindset I fuck with super heavy. And I think that's something of like how we actually bring people into this is by getting rid of the cringe shit and just saying, hey, we're going to do something that actively benefits the world. This is our thing that we're doing in this moment, but it's one thing of many that, we're going to do.
Yes. Oh my gosh. The whole time you were talking, I was so excited to respond. So this is how I think, not only beach cleanups and humanitarian work and stuff like that, this is how I think about my entire vision and brand building with Mindful Monkz is how do we adhere to the crowd that's not in this echo chamber of Web3 Twitter, right? And that's with everything. Like with these t-shirts, for example, you guys and Sonny and myself, we intentionally made this shirt. There's no NFTs on it. It doesn't say Mindful Monkz NFT. It doesn't say DGods NFT. If you see this shirt, you would just think it's, a streetwear brand, right? And that's kind of how I think about everything is, of course we might have some merch drops that are like, a Mindful Monk or whatever. But what I'm saying is the products that we build, I want to adhere to a way, way broader market because that's how you build a global powerhouse brand. It's not through Twitter. It's not through Twitter Spaces. It's through that worldwide recognition that anybody would be proud to be a part of. And not only that, this is how I think about when I talk to my IRL friends, because the other thing that people have noticed with the Mindful Monkz is like, my dad has a Mindful Monk. My sister has a Mindful Monk. I have probably 15 people off the top of my head where it's their first NFT, like people I went to high school with or college. And the reason for that is because whenever they ask me about my project, I never say the word NFT. I never say the Web3. I never say any of that. I'll say it's a digital collectible. This digital collectible gives you access to an online community and different events, product discounts. I never throw out like, oh, this is an NFT. First, you have to make a MetaMask, and then you're going to have to, upload it to OpenSea, and then, you'll have to mint this project, and then if they do a second collection, you'll have to burn that. And then after you burn that, then you're going to have to you probably want to sell it first, so then you're going to have to take a WETH offer, and then you're going to, bro, they're going to run right away. So when I'm talking to, I don't like this term, but normies, that's the type of verbiage I use is this is a digital collectible. Web3 is not Web3. It's just a user-owned internet. OpenSea is just the Amazon for digital collectibles. That's how I think about it, even in a conversational setting. But on a broader term, as we build Mindful Monkz, that's kind of the verbiage we're going to use. And it's not to say that we're not going to do degenerate Web3 stuff because that's fun. I have a lot of people in the community who still want to be involved with the technical Web3 stuff. But what I'm saying is a forward-facing brand, I think the way that you use your terms and approach people who have no idea what an NFT is way more important than people realize.
Yeah. I mean, it's at the end of the day, you have to, obviously in the middle of a bull market, you have people interested in anything because if something can make money, people are interested in it. During a time like this, it's the opportunity to make money is just not really there as much, quickly, right? Maybe long term you make a bunch, but quickly it's not as much there. And so then it's okay, can you make somebody actually feel like they're a part of something? And right. And online communities have been a big thing for a very long time. If you go into different web forums, if you go into there's been a lot of people, I know a lot of personal trainers that have groups on Facebook where people can post their progress pics and they support each other and everything like that. There's something really powerful about that. And then if you can encourage those people to go do various things again that cause other people to go, oh, that's really awesome what they're doing. There's something really powerful about that. And so that's the thing that kind of gets me excited about what you're doing is it's, if it's hey, we're all going to do a group meditation on Skype, right? That's awesome. That's awesome. There's probably a lot of people that need something like that. A guided meditation, something like that. That's powerful. There's a lot of good that can come from that. If you're doing different things to encourage community members to go donate food to the homeless or go volunteer somewhere, go clean up a beach or clean up a park or, whatever it is, it's those are the things that, again, make people feel proud of being part of that group, right? Versus the profit mindset of I'm buying this, hoping that it just goes up in value. It's if anything, you want to make a community so powerful and so just feels good to be in that nobody wants to leave, and so then the floor price goes up as a result of just people just wanting to stay within it.
You got me fired up, bro. I'm glad you said that word, proud. So I've talked about this on Spaces a lot, and this is the number one thing I think about as a founder and a leader because, you have to ask yourself questions, right? And every single day I ask myself this question: how do I make this community proud to own a Mindful Monk? And I think that's the biggest question that a founder has to ask themselves, is because that's what it's about, right? You go back to the most powerful communities in the world. It's sports teams, politics. It's pride. They're proud to wear that jersey. They're proud to wear Biden, whatever it is. And so it's the same in Web3 and NFTs, is like, how do I create a project that is so valuable, is doing so much good in the world, that there's no question that people who hold this are going to be proud to rock it as their PFP. They're going to be proud to tweet about it. They're going to be proud to use it everywhere, right? And so I think that's the biggest question that I ask myself every day, is like, okay, how can I move the needle today that makes Mindful Monkz a community that people are proud to be a part of? So I'm glad you said that, dude, because that just fires me up, man. But another thing I wanted to say is, like, the beach cleanup. I'm just glad that I went to an NFT event where I don't have a hangover the next day.
That's facts. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's always something where it's like, man, the fact that we can like do something more like, yeah, something to just actually feel good about doing, right?
Exactly.
And we still had some fun afterwards. Like even though that was fun, but like we went to a bar afterwards and like we all did have a beer and like we watched some college football for a little bit and everything like that. And it's just good to get people together and everything like that. But
of course.
So now that you've minted out, now we've gotten to that point. What are some of the other things that you're planning on doing? And I hate to say like, what's your like 1 year goal?
What's your roadmap?
Yeah,
what's your roadmap?
And I actually hate when people have a roadmap, because to be honest, it's like this space moves way too quickly.
You want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
So if you go to our Discord and you go to the roadmap channel, it's literally like the maps in like the elementary schools.
Yeah.
I posted like a meme photo of that. That's our roadmap.
Yeah. I mean, it's like there's just no reason for a roadmap. Like things
Yeah.
change too quickly. So
Exactly.
So walk me through like some of the things that you are doing, some of the bigger, broad ideas, I guess, of like what you want to accomplish. But in the short term, like what are some of the things that you're working on right now?
For sure, man. So I'm so excited about this because when we had the mint, right, I made it very clear. I said it a million times in our Medium article, everywhere, that what we're selling right now is really good PFP art and access to a community, and that's it, right? And our roadmap was basically me saying, I'm going to under-promise and over-deliver. And so what we've done already is incredible. I mean, we just had an event with DeGods, one of the biggest projects in the world. We've ran probably 300 hours of Twitter Spaces, and we brought on speakers and, all sorts of things. And, we've given amazing art that people have branded themselves around. So that's been cool. But like I said, we've done some shit, but we still ain't done shit. So moving forward, the real play and, why it's taken 2 or 3 months is we're building products that I think are some of the best products in the space, because we've taken the time to do that, because I set that intention that, hey, this is art in a Discord. That's it. And so it's given me the peace of mind to build things instead of, I think a lot of founders, and no hate or judgment, they'll mint out a project and then they'll go, here's an art tool, here's staking here in a week. And it's like they kind of just rush around and scramble and deliver things just for the sake of looking busy so that their community doesn't question them. And so what I did was the exact opposite. We've taken so much time to build these products because I have the peace of mind to build cool things that I think are actually valuable and not just for the sake of building. So I'll get into the things, but the first thing is Monkz Factory. And so what Monkz Factory is, it's essentially a one-stop shop. It's a unique trait adding service for anybody who holds a monk, and actually anyone can interact with it. So even if you don't hold a monk, you can go and, check out the Monkz Factory. So a lot of projects have come out with art tools. It's not a unique idea, but the way that we're doing it, I think, is extremely unique, and I think it's the most powerful art tool in the space, personally. I mean, I'm biased, but essentially Monkz Factory, you're going to be able to go in, you put in your token ID, you can generate your PFP. It'll show up on the next page. And then there's going to be all these custom traits that we've been building out for the last 2 months. And it's not like we hired an artist and just said, hey, these are the expressions, give me 3 days. We've taken 2 months to make these traits. Like, they're detailed, dude. Like, we have a GM cup. We have, a sign where like the monk's holding a sign that says, welcome to the monk mob. There's like speech bubbles that say like, it's okay to be okay. Like stuff like that. So basically, you go to the Monkz Factory, you can choose from all these different expressions, right? So let's say you have ID number 2912. You say, all right, I want to add this GM cup. You click the GM cup, hit generate, and then you can choose from a menu of high quality PFP, Twitter banner, all sorts of stuff. You export it, and then you can use that. And it won't be on chain. We're going to start just with, visual social growth in mind. But the real kicker to Monkz Factory is this first round is going to be totally free. It's going to be the MVP launch. We're going to get feedback and, iterate. But what I'm most excited for and where revenue is going to be driven is we're going to start partnering with Web3 artists. And the first one that, I have in mind, there's a couple, I'll shout out Digi Dreamer. He's a really cool artist in our space, but we're going to be doing trait packs. So we're doing one with Strike from Utes. Hopefully we've been in chats, but essentially you can go to Monkz Factory and let's say it's $10 for a Strike trait pack. Connect your wallet, pay $10, and then you have access to all these custom traits that you can brand your monk with. And we're also going to have an IP guide on there and explain, do's and don'ts and like recommendations for how to use the IP. But essentially, we want to partner with the best Web3 artists in the world and drive revenue and, do a rev share with them. So that's kind of the play there is like highlighting artists, creating a brandable IP through Monkz Factory, and, 10xing our social growth. So that's kind of the idea there. And there's a few other products that are coming out, but that's the first one that hopefully, I hate putting dates on things. I think we could have that live within the next 2 weeks.
There we go. There we go. So what are your, when you're thinking about like things to build, what are your like, what's your like North Star in terms of like, hey, I want to make sure every time we put out something like this is our end goal is to accomplish X, Y, and Z. And like, this is on our path of getting there.
Yeah. I mean, first thing obviously is cliche is value, but how I think about it is like, it's basically, I'm taking feedback from the community, maybe not directly, but I'm in the chats. I'm in the Discord all day. I'm basically seeing what people want, right? What are people conversing about? And then I have these ideas that I bring to the table, and I kind of blend those two. And I'd say my North Star is like brand integrity. Like if anything is off brand, if it feels, any sort of like out of the ethos and values that we've established already, it's off the table, right? There's been a lot of, offers already that's just, it doesn't feel good. And so that's what I think about is brand integrity. But the second thing is like for the Monkz Factory, for example, I was going through the chats and 40, 50 times a day, people were like, hey, I need a GM cup. Who's making these? Or I saw people sharing their same monk 30 times a day. Like, when people like raid new monk holders, they're using the same image 30 times a day. So, Punisher, my team member came to me and he's like, yo, everybody wants GM cups. Let's make an art tool. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. But let's not just make an art tool. Let's go deeper. And so that's kind of how I see things is like, I have ideas in my head that I idealized 2 years ago, but at the same time, I'm listening to the community and then kind of blending those two ideas together to create something that drives value that I think is valuable from a brand perspective and then value towards the actual holders.
There we go. There we go. And so then what's your strategy for like, one of the things you had mentioned to me a while ago was that you were trying to onboard people that were like not even into NFTs at all and everything like that. You wanted to, make this a project that like excites people who have known nothing about NFTs. So kind of what's your strategy with all of that? How do you make that happen? How do you get people excited about Mindful Monkz if they know nothing about NFTs? For
sure. And I was chatting about this a little earlier. I think it's building products that expand outside of this echo chamber. And how I like to say it, it's another thing that might be kind of cheesy. But I see, in 5 years, Mindful Monkz being like the Jimmy Darts or like the Mr. Beast of Web3, where it's like, we're creating content and we're doing initiatives and things that have no choice but to go viral, right? And so in 5 years, I want to have, you go on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or Twitter, and there's a piece of content that has something to do with the Mindful Monkz umbrella, whether that's a beach cleanup, whether that's, flying to Indonesia and doing, humanitarian work, whatever it is, that's kind of the goal. And we want to create tools that allow our community to do that with ease. And so this goes into another thing that we're building that I've never talked about this on a space or anything. This is the Marc Colcer. I mean, I gotta drop some alpha, right? So with this, we're coming out with something called Monkz Media. And essentially what this platform is going to be, it's similar to people who are familiar with That's Gnarly or Shred It TV by the Shredding Sassies. I'll give their example first. So on Shred It TV, it's a media platform where you upload, surfing clips, skating clips. It's an action sports brand. And then you can sell those. So the community can come and support you, whether it's a $1 mint or $10 mint. And instead of just, so basically we have, you know, in the Monkz, we have a guy named Ash. He's a sponsored surfer that we've sponsored. And he'll come in the chat and post a video of his meditation routine. And so instead of just posting that on Twitter, he can upload that to Monkz Media. And it's a valuable piece of content. It's, you know, 5 meditation tips, whatever. Then our community can support him. People can vote on it. You know, our DAO, the Mindful Monkz DAO, the brand itself, can upvote it and support him in a financial way. And so that's what Monkz Media is going to be. It's going to be like, you know, people can upload all their clips like it's a regular social media network, but they can also make proposals. So say Fred in South Carolina wants to do a beach cleanup, but he has no money, right? He comes and signs into Monkz Media. He makes a proposal and he says, hey, this is my plan for a beach cleanup. You know, it's going to cost $400 for this beach cleanup. Here's the proposal. So then if you hold a mindful monk, you have what's called voting power. So the more monks you have, the more voting power you have within Monkz Media. So you can see all these proposals are public, right? And then you can vote. So say Frank's beach cleanup gets voted to the top. Boom, it's approved. Our DAO then supplies him $400. He does the beach cleanup, creates all the content, uploads it everywhere, not just Monkz Media, uploads it on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. And it creates this ripple effect of content, because in this day and age, whether you like it or not, content is king. You have to be creating content and you have to be leveraging content every day, all day. And so that's kind of where I see Monkz Media coming into play, is this viral attempt to have Mindful Monkz be omnipresent again. So that's kind of the idea with Monkz Media.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, I'm excited, dude.
There we go. And so is your plan to like utilize that content in like, you know, in traditional methods in terms of like, if you have like a Mindful Monkz TikTok account, are you going to be like taking a bunch of those clips, putting that out there, and then like basically expanding the Mindful Monkz like name and everything like that by people seeing that content as it goes viral or whatever?
Exactly, dude. And I like that you said this, because one of my biggest inspiration, I love the D-Gods, of course, but Pudgy Penguins, Luca, absolute rock star, and they've crushed this part of their business is, you know, you go on their TikTok or Instagram. I think they have like 1 million followers on Instagram now. And that's what they've done. They've created this sauce, this formula that basically goes viral every time. And now Luca has like a whole team, a social media team. He doesn't even touch it really. And so that's kind of the idea, is following that path of Pudgy Penguins, is creating content on all platforms and just, you know, firing off pieces of content until we find that recipe. And then we just double down and keep doing that. And, you know, yeah, like to your question, all the content on Monkz Media can be rebranded to all the other platforms. And I think we'll probably just take, you know, the most impactful pieces of content and then put it on our brand forward-facing accounts.
All right, so dude, so what I want to get into, obviously you just mentioned Pudgy Penguins. What other projects are you currently, or just like people in the space in general, like who are you most inspired by right now?
That's a good one. Luca, I'd say Luca's really up there. The one thing about Luca, I've tried to talk to him. He's just so busy. I've never really gotten to talk to him, so I don't have that personal experience with it. But in terms of, you know, how Pudgy's is building their brand, that's probably one of my biggest inspirations. You know, back in the day, I haven't followed them much recently, but Crypto Mories is another one. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they have a really cool, you know, brand ethos. It's basically like Momenti Mori, and it's very mental health focused. And the craziest thing that I thought was so cool is, you know, the bear hit, so that, you know, something happened there. But during the bull, every single holder for Crypto Mories got free therapy. And they worked with this company called Impact Suite, which basically Impact Suite will work with, you know, Amazon and Google and supply employee, you know, benefits, right? So what Crypto Mories did is they reached out to Impact Suite and offered any holder free therapy sessions. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. So Crypto Mories is a big one. Right now in this current time, Space Riders. Zubik is a dog. Like, we had a co-space together. I think there was 300 people in there, and he's probably the most active founder outside of the obvious. But yeah, Zubik is the man, dude. He's just super on it. He's just smart. He has integrity. So I love the Space Riders. And then the last one, there's so many I want to shout out, but the last big one that stands out is Corky's. Corky's is doing something very similar to what I have envisioned in building a lifestyle brand. Like, Corky's itself is an NFT project, but they have a whole other lifestyle brand that's huge. I mean, they're selling all these cool designs. They're doing competitions and skate meetups and You know, they have graffiti artists doing murals all over the world, you know, stuff like that. So I'd say Corky's is another huge inspiration of mine. I love Sin. I love what they're doing over there too. So
there we go. There we go. Okay, so next up, I want you to talk about your fiance, and the reason why I want you to talk about her is for multiple reasons. One, you've been sharing her content in our group chat for a long time because she's a badass. Do we call it, is it roller skating, inline skating? How do we, what's the proper term? Okay. So she's a badass roller skater. And so all these videos of her are always like just so damn cool. She's incredibly, incredibly talented. And I know she's also your business partner in a lot of ways. And so just talk about kind of her impact and I guess like, you know, what she's done to like just, you know, I guess, you know, be more than just a fiance to you. She's a huge inspiration.
Dude, she is so awesome, man. I'm so glad you brought this up. First, I want to kind of preface with something because I don't know how big it is now that Andrew Tate's done he's gone basically. But there's this huge narrative, right? Where if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a guy who's seeking something big, you should be single, right? That's kind of the narrative is like, or you have a girl that's like submissive and she's just a housewife. She cooks and cleans. Like that's what you need, bro. Like that's, you know, that's kind of like the cliche. I disagree. I think the exact opposite. I think power couples are the move. And Kate's the best, bro. Like she has her own dreams. She's driven, like she's smart as hell. And that's what I want. Like I want someone who has their own dreams and like I think that's hot. I think that's attractive. So I'm in the opposite crowd of all that. And basically like, you know, Kate, I call her the COO of Monkz because she's like low key. She's not on Twitter. But I swear to God, like she's so smart because she's been in the industry. She has 500,000 on TikTok, 100-something K on Instagram from creating content. And she worked in social media. So she has all these valuable insights. And basically all the big decisions with Monkz, I'm asking her. I'm like, yo, because the thing is, when you're not in the weeds of Twitter, you have this fresh perspective, right? And talking from the Web 2 perspective, how do we get people in? That's her. Because I'm in the weeds. Like I'm on Twitter all day. Like I'm interacting with Web 3 people. And so she brings in that kind of fresh perspective of like, hey, maybe you should think about it this way, or maybe you should do this differently. And so that's been huge, just having that kind of outside perspective that's away from the noise. That has helped me create or make decisions that aren't based on like, you know, dopamine and notifications and like stuff like that. So it's been good, dude. And she's crushing it. She's a roller skater. She's doing flips and 540s. She's worked with, I mean, she started roller skating in the pandemic and just went mega viral. So she's worked with Nike. She's worked with Lululemon, Pringles, Pandora Music. I mean, the list goes on. So she's crushing it. And yeah, it's fun having a type of partner who's, you know, she has very similar dreams, maybe not, you know, tangible dreams in terms of like business and stuff, but in terms of like where we want to go and our future and like, I don't know. It feels pretty perfect.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
That's very, very cool.
It's been rad.
Yeah, no, it's been fun to watch all the content that you've shown me of hers. And yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, you hear like rollerblading or roller skating or whatever, and you're like, oh, okay. And then you watch some of the videos, you're like, oh, okay. Like this is crazy.
She's doing flips and
yeah.
Crazy.
Well, I'll throw one of the videos in here, but
cool.
But yeah, man. So okay. So give me like, you know, it's hard to talk about, you know, again, like, 5 years from now, what do you want to be doing? Because like, who the hell knows what the space is going to look like 5 years from now, right? Yeah. But like, if we're sitting on the couch a year from now, like, what do you want Mindful Monkz to become a year from now?
A year from now, I love it, dude. So a year's in Web3, it's a long time. In the regular business world, it's not, right? But in an ideal world, a year from now, you know, Mindful Monkz is like a household brand. It's viral on social media. It's something that even people in Web 2 recognize, right? And it's, you know, it's a name that is recognizable. It's an IP that people can get behind because it's so big, right? And the other thing that I see in a year is like, I want it to be something that is just so freaking cool that people can't deny, right? And a big vision I have for the next, I hope this happens sooner, but I don't know what I'm going to call it. I don't want to call it Monk Fest, but that would be rad. But essentially I want to have this big annual event where, you know, the morning is like speakers, we bring on a panel, you know, meditation, mindfulness, we give out merch, all that stuff. It's like a mindful morning type thing. And it's a 1-day event. You come, you show up, you get a swag bag, holders get in free. And the morning, it's kind of a mindful morning, right? And then it turns into like, you know, a little reggae party, not reggae, but it turns into like a concert, right? And we have headliners and we have, 10 different artists, and it becomes a concert. And it's this annual thing that everyone can look forward to. And I don't know if you're familiar with Lyrical Lemonade, Cole Bennett, but their floor's at like 0.2 only because you get free access to their fest that they throw every year. And I'm not saying like that's the main utility I see in a year. That's just something that I've always dreamed of, is having this huge event that people can look forward to for a year out. And it's just this amazing event where you're going to show up and like the people there are just awesome. Like you're going to connect with amazing people. You're going to learn how to take care of your mind, and then we're going to party. And it's like the best day ever every year. So like in a year, that's what I want it to be, is like when you hear Mindful Monkz, it's like, even if you're not in Web3, you're like, yeah, I've heard of that. I've seen them on Instagram. I've seen their events. I've seen a flyer somewhere. That's what I see, is like, I want it to be a household name, and I want it to be something that when people think of it, they think of goodness. They think of kindness. They think of positive impact and like ripples of positivity. And that's kind of where I see it.
So, okay, so outside of like obviously everything that you went through in college with football and the ups and downs of all of that and business and everything like that, what makes you, I guess, like so mindful per se? Like what like is it just how you were raised? Like what about like your upbringing, I guess, like makes you want to have this impact on the world?
For sure. I mean, the family's huge, man. And my grandpa was kind of the leader of our family. Like he coached for 40 years and everyone kind of, went to him for guidance. Not just my family, the whole community. He was like this figure. There's literally a statue of him at the field. And when I was, the values he instilled in me was like, work hard, stay humble, and respect women. Like, well, the biggest thing was like respect people, and women was the big one. And that I've always carried that with me, is like, nothing's going to fall in your lap. Like there's no shortcuts. Like, and there was a long time where I would be like, how to make $1 million online. And I would try this method. And then I'd go back and say, my grandpa said there's no shortcuts. And I've found that to be true. There really is no shortcuts in life. And he instilled that in me. And then one last thing I want to say about that is like, all these values he taught me, the biggest one is 212. I don't know if you've heard this concept, but it was on our helmets. I have it tattooed right here. And it's 212 degrees is the saying. And basically what the message is there is like, at 211 degrees, the water looks exactly the same. But that one extra degree makes it boil, and it can literally power a train. Like it can power a train from that one extra degree. So the message is like, just keep going, because you have no idea if you're at 210. You have no idea if you're at 211. It just takes that one extra degree for everything to like power up. And I get chills. Like I literally have goosebumps talking about it, because it was on our helmets for 4 years, and I was a ball boy and water boy. So I saw that every day, and now I have it tattooed, and that's taken me through life. But my whole family, my dad, my mom, everybody has been nothing but supportive, because I'm crazy, bro. I have crazy dreams. Like I'm a dreamer. I always have been. And they've never been like, oh, that won't happen. Like, maybe you should go get a job and like focus on real life. They've never been that way. They've always just been like, I support you. I have no idea what this is, but go for it, And so love my family, love my friends. Like they've been so supportive, man. It's been beautiful.
There we go. Okay, and then on a personal level, like what do you do outside of all of this? Like when you are taking a good, mental break from all of this, because I do think it's very important to take a break from the whole Web3 space every once in a while and just get a little good mental refresh. What are you doing on a daily basis?
For sure. I'll make it quick. I still love sports. I play basketball 3 days a week at the Y. Love the surf. Fell in love with surfing when I lived in Hawaii. Been surfing ever since. Love surfing. Love skating. And then I'd say my other biggest passion in life is travel. Like I started traveling at a really young age. I literally would stay at hostels. I would have $500 in my bank and like find a $200 flight, stay at hostels, come back to college. Like that's how I was. And so my other big passion in life is travel. Like I want to experience the world, and I have this crazy dream. Who knows if this will happen, but I want to go to all 195 UN recognized countries by the time I'm like 60.
There we go.
And like, but now that I have Monkz, it's not just traveling for leisure. It's like traveling for purpose and impact. So that's my other biggest passion, is seeing the world and experiencing other cultures, foods, places. That's what keeps me going outside of this business stuff.
Okay. Well, speaking of that, then, do you know who Lexi Limitless is?
I do. That's Thomas's ex, right?
Yeah. So, so Lexi, I've shot with Lexi before. But
No way.
Yeah, she's the youngest person to travel to every country in the world.
I've studied her, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, how'd you do this? I didn't ask her, but
Yeah, very, very nice person.
You know her?
Yeah, she was actually one of the like inspirations for starting a podcast, because I remember when we first met, I said to her even before we started the shoot, I was like, I got to just pick your brain for like an hour because I got to know like how you literally traveled to every country in the world. Like I have so many questions
Wasn't
for
she
you.
22 or?
At the time, I think she was 21 or 22 when she had traveled every country in the world. And so, I was asking her like, hey, so like what country was like what was your favorite? What was like, what was your most surprising? What was your like, what was one that you thought you'd love that you didn't, and vice versa? And, all these different questions that I had. And I was like, after we were done having that conversation, I was like, damn, that should have been a podcast. Like that would have been super interesting
Dude,
for
get
other
her
people
back
to hear.
on, man.
Yeah, she just travels so much. It's hard to get her, it's hard to get her on the podcast. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, so very, very cool. But,
that's great.
But dude, I love it. I'm excited to see everywhere that you take the project. It's like, I respect the shit out of everything that you've done because, again, like minting at a time where everybody's telling you, hey, this is a bad idea. And they're not saying that because they want you to fail, but because the reality of it is a bad time to mint. And yet you were successful with it. You've now got this community that's super, super passionate. We've seen that. One of your community members, you want to shout him out, flew here from Chicago.
Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Shout out Lube Stan on Twitter. This fool, he got a monk like 2 weeks ago. That was his first, monk. And then 2 weeks later, he's like, hey, I'm here. I just flew from Chicago. I'm like, what? Apparently, he took the first flight this morning, and he's flying on a red-eye tonight. So it's just that is why it's been one of the best days of my life today is because seeing that in person and, like, getting to interact with him and, like, he flew from Chicago today. Like, that's just insane to me.
Just to do a beach cleanup with the boys.
Yeah,
so,
man.
And girls. But yeah, I mean, that's super, super cool. And like, that's the sort of stuff that gets me fired up about like making a positive impact is like, that's now a story that like you'll take forever on with you. He'll do the same. And like, and that's something where this can like spread and become such a major thing. And so, dude, I appreciate you. This has been super, super, super fun. And like, I've just enjoyed seeing your journey, and I'm excited to see everywhere that you take things from here. But and I know we'll be doing other podcast episodes and going through everything that you've learned 6 months into the project, a year into the project, 5 years into the project, everything like that. But dude, I'm just excited for you and just love your energy again,
bro.
man. It's great vibes always.
Well, dude, thank you for. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I looked up to you for a long time, and like I knew I'd be on this pod someday, but I didn't think it would happen this fast. And here I am. It's beautiful, bro. And like, I wanted to thank you for just giving me this space and this chance, really. I mean, this is awesome, man. So thank you.
No problem at all, bro. So appreciate you, dude. And yeah, drop your socials. Where can people find you?
At Mr. Jay Croft on Twitter, JAY_Croft on Instagram, Mindful Monkz NFT. But yeah, man, monk around and find out. That's kind of our saying. Monk around and find out.
There we go, dude. Well, hey, appreciate you coming on. Appreciate everybody tuning in. And yeah, we'll chat with you guys soon.
You.
See you guys.